Hello, Abundance Queen Tribe. I am super excited to share with you some juicy nuggets today about building wealth, specifically building wealth as a woman. There are some resistances that I see many of us having around building wealth as women. What does that mean to us? What does that mean for us? And frankly, simply not having the conversation because we are choosing not to opt in to that mentality. We have told ourselves that, oh, I don't want that for myself. So we get to dive in, we get to talk about this and really what it means to be a wealthy woman. Many of my clients don't really consider the notion that they as women can build wealth. How they speak to me about it is they think about savings, how to invest more, how to buy into real estate. That's the words and the terms that they use when we talk about building wealth. While I sit here and let's talk about how you can build more wealth. Let's talk about your wealth building potential, right? So those languaging differences are very important to recognize in your own thoughts and minds and the ways that you think about money too. So why are we not choosing to speak about it in that way? There's a few thoughts I have from many, multiple, probably thousands of conversations at this point, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on why you think you don't speak in that capacity either. So maybe it's because you sound like it sounds like a guy talking, right? Guys talk about wealth all the time. They talk about making money. They specifically use the word wealth and they have no problems with it. So maybe it's we associate it with not being possible for us because that's something a guy would do. Or maybe some of us have chosen that, again, it's not really something that we want, so therefore it's not something that we discuss. And many women have a hard time even believing that it's possible to see themselves creating this. There's limitations within your own mind around what it means to take the first step into building wealth and what that could actually look like. So we're going to dive into that. And what I want you to consider and take notes on as we're talking through this is what's really coming up for you. So grab a pen and paper and really sit with, as I'm talking to you about building wealth, as I'm sharing some of the tools and resources that I use and that I even work with myself on, what's coming up for you when I'm talking about it. Because I want you to notice if and when there are some resistance or triggers that thoughts are happening in your head when I say certain things a certain way with certain words. And I want to invite you into what it's really all about. It's all about playing a bigger and more impactful game in life on the effort that we get to show up. We don't realize how many people count on us to show up until we're actually doing it consistently. The people start coming out of the woodwork like, wow, I've been watching you. I'm so excited for your growth. I am so inspired by what you're presenting in front of me. Then there's also the people who are like, why are you posting about this? Why are you talking about money again? Those are the ones that talk to me. And they really have a struggle with me constantly posting about money because they don't understand my why. They don't understand my purpose. And that's okay. They don't have to. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I just get to stay connected to my why, the reason why I keep showing up every single day. And it's about me and my impact and my growth. It's about who I get to impact, and it's about creating a better world around me. So that's what it is for me. This conversation that we continuously have about building wealth and building investments and money in our life is really about you creating that as a possibility for yourself. So in watching what is holding you back from using that type of languaging, think through and just pick 3 or 4 main reasons why you've chosen to limit yourself. And there's always a limit. We all have limits, and that's okay. So come at it from a place of non-judgment and notice that when I talk about building wealth, here's how I talk about it with myself within my own realm and sphere of what I believe. I am talking about I want to be a billionaire. Yeah, B, billionaire. My daily mantra is I am a multimillionaire. I am already a multimillionaire. It is easy and effortless for me to be a multimillionaire. I am service and an excellence as a multimillionaire for the women that I serve, the people that want my help, the people that want to play in possibility with me, and the people that I get to take to 7, 8, and 9 figures alongside of me. They want that just as badly as I do because they also want to create a massive impact on the world. And when I say this out loud, that is exactly what I attract, which is beautiful because I know the process that I get to go through to create that in my life. So, what I would also challenge you on is, do you know what that looks like for you? Do you create that in your life already? I'm going to imagine probably not at the level that maybe you want to create that at. So, when I say all of these things out loud, I want you to first and foremost just take a deep breath. It's okay. What actually is happening in your mind, your thoughts, the actual thoughts going through your head? Are you thinking things like, wow, me too, I want to get there too, Rachel? Yes, let's go. Show me how to get there. Or is there some resistance like, ugh, here she goes again. She's talking about money. Or you have this conversation in your head of, what if I don't want that? I don't really care about that. A lot of indifference is coming up. Or maybe you're questioning and you're curious, but it's kind of scary. Why does she want that? Why does it matter so much to her? Why is that so important to her? I don't get it, but I want to understand it. Your thoughts count. Your thoughts are your imagination telling you that if you had $1 million in the bank, what you would do with it. So, can you imagine making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year? Can you imagine building wealth in the capacity that it would take to actually live out your vision and your dreams? If you actually have a vision and dreams, they're pretty big usually. It's living in a certain place, it's making a certain amount of money, it's having your dream job, it's building a life for your family. And for some of us, it's even bigger than that. It's making an impact in some way, shape, or form, which I feel like most of us have within us, but sometimes we have to dig deep for it because we stopped dreaming a long time ago, or we stopped imagining how it would even take place, or we lost that somewhere along the way. So give yourself some grace from that standpoint. Like, it's okay if you're not there. And let's play. Let's play in the possibility of what it could look like to get you to even start being in practice of imagining some of these things taking place. And what I want you to be detached from is how. How am I going to do that? How am I going to make that happen? That's actually the least important part out of all of this. The most important part is you reactivating your imagination in what's possible. If there's something that you haven't considered, like maybe you've thought about it in your past or, in your teens or 20s, you consider doing certain things and you just put it aside because you haven't considered it in a while. You have no idea how to make it possible. Sit with those things. Sit with things that you thought or dreamt about as a child, right? What your life would look like. Literally start to play in that possibility and start to write those things down. What's coming up? And really indulge yourself in it. Like really get eager and curious with yourself around what that looks like for you. Because you might start to notice either a pattern or a theme as you're attempting to do this, or constant limitations, which happens to a lot of us. Oh, that's not possible because of this, or not sure if I can actually do that. Oh, I don't have the energy for that. I don't know if that's it. Just we ramble on in our own minds and our own thoughts around what we don't think we can actually do. And so that is constantly our limitation, and that's our belief system. That is literally your belief system coming up and telling you what's possible, what's not possible, and you cannot willpower your way through that. You can't will yourself to believe logically something else happening a different way because logic is now relying on the how it gets done. And if you don't know how it's going to get done, then you don't have that either, right? So really sit with if you have these goals and habits to make a lot of money, save a lot of money, create a certain type of life vision for yourself, create certain life goals for yourself, your health and wellness, all of these things apply to this concept of allowing yourself to imagine. And if we haven't looked at our internal thoughts and beliefs around how that's going to actually be created in our own imagination, it will not happen. So they will not will those habits, those goals, they will not will themselves into existence. And I want us to also consider, so how do we get to make this easy for ourselves? I am all about simplicity, making it easy and effortless for yourself, focusing on what matters, detaching yourself from the rest of it. So allowing our imagination to really unwind what is possible and unpack what is necessary in order to create literally a space in your mind to build wealth is where we get to go with it. That's what we're physically doing in our own imagination, our own mind, which then trails into our belief systems, our thoughts, and our habits. So the second part of this is really organizing your ability to understand what it means to you to build wealth. I'm going to share what all the pieces are for me and know that it can look different for you, and that's totally okay. But building wealth is a lot bigger than, I think we know it's big, but it's a lot bigger than just the making the money part. And what I want you to understand is as women, we get to build wealth and create a lifestyle that aligns with our vision. And for me, that means certain things. I am creating an investment portfolio. I'm creating a real estate portfolio. I want to have passive income. I get to have passive income. That is the lifestyle that I get to have and I'm creating for myself. And part of that ties into my business, creating the desired income out of my business so that I can continue to grow and empower women to move past the basics of financial wellness and into this wealth building mentality. So the reason why Abundance Queen Life exists is my own journey throughout that process that I did for myself, now taking multiple clients through that process and seeing the transformation on the other side. That's what's most powerful. That's why you're here today. That's what's really invigorating about having these conversations and getting a little uncomfortable with it, because I know deep down a part of you wants that too. So for me, in getting really into this ability to believe that building wealth is possible, I want to feel fulfilled in life. That's really the end game. I want to feel fulfilled and I want to feel that way each and every day. So how do I get to go on this journey and make progress with that? And it's really the little things that allow me to create that fulfillment, right? I love the little moments where women are just lit up because they finally get it. They have these moments and they finally understand what it's going to take to create this, or maybe they've taken action in creating building wealth for themselves, and a little piece of their vision starts to fall into place. So we focus on the right things and get them there one piece at a time. And it's a slow process, right? It's not something that happens overnight. It's not like winning the lottery, right? We live in this instant gratification world and environment. And so there's a lot of women that they are enthralled by the idea of what I'm talking about, but they don't even stick around long enough to understand what it's going to take, or they won't commit to it. So congratulations to you for sitting here, thinking through this, talking through this within your own ways of being, because it takes commitment to yourself. You're committing to loving yourself enough to build wealth for yourself and your family. You are committing to trusting yourself enough. Whew, that's a big one. Trusting yourself enough to play a bigger game and to show up, not for others, show up for yourself, because you are tapping into your bigger vision. You are on this path of greatness and you are creating the vision for your life. That's what you're showing up for. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And you're respecting yourself enough. That's another big one I love to dig into, is respecting yourself enough to say no, to have boundaries, to ensure that your focus is entirely on aligning yourself to your vision and saying no to everything else, and being okay with that, being at peace with that, coming at it from a graceful place. So it's not, an angry or mad place to share with other people, like, no, sorry, that doesn't serve me at this point, and not having to explain yourself. So all of that plays into this ability to build a wealthy lifestyle and a wealthy way of being for our lives. The third piece of this is really the framework. So from an education standpoint, building wealth is simply investing the time in yourself in order to build a wealthy mindset, investing the time in your lifestyle to dream and know specifically what you want to create. I meet a lot of women who they love all of what I'm talking about, in theory. And then when we really dive into their heart's desires, it is hard for them to tap into that, to tap into their vision because they've spent so much time not focusing on it that now we get to really dive into it. And it's exciting and it's scary all at the same time. So, really embodying that for yourself early on is the best thing you can do for yourself from a wealth building potential. The more that you can put into your vision and into your sphere of what it is that you want to cause and create in the world, the more likely it is that you're actually going to achieve some of those milestones along the way. And what I also consider you doing is thinking through and taking 5 or 10 minutes, talking to your future self is very powerful practice to be aware of. So I sit and I go talk to my 80-year-old self. What would my 80-year-old self tell me after a lifetime of experiences and opportunities and greatness and impact? What does my 80-year-old self tell me? A lot of the time, because I am very hard on myself, my 80-year-old self tells me to have more grace with myself, to just be in the moment, to really experience every juicy opportunity, right? So there are conversations I sit with and have with my 80-year-old self looking back at my life, right? And that connection to my vision, to my future, it's a very linear timeline from a number standpoint. But when you start to think about it in terms of this journey and this ability to become over time, it's a very impactful way to think about your life's journey, your life's work, and what you get to create. So dig deeper into what you want to connect your wealth building potential to, because the minute you start to connect the dots on that life vision, that's when magic starts to happen. Money is simply a tool, a very powerful one, to help get you there. So it is not the end all be all. It is just simply what we are uncomfortable fucking talking about. So that's why I'm going there. Um, I want to also really speak into why women shy away from this topic. And they don't create a priority around talking about money, learning about money because of fear. There's a deep rooted fear in culturally us as women, but also us individually based on what we learned as a child around money and wealth and what that actually looked like. Most of us in the millennial generation had mothers who either maybe worked full-time, part-time. My mother didn't work at all. So what does that actually mean and how I show up and how I kind of do the opposite? There's a lot of meaning behind that. So I won't get into that here, but look into that for yourself and how you saw your mother when you were a child and how she either did or did not address money. For most millennials I speak to, they didn't talk about money. Their family didn't talk about money. Their parents didn't talk about money. So it was like this unknown, unthing, unspoken. There's just so much uncertainty around it. So start to just be aware that that's a thing, that that's actually happening up here between your two eyeballs and your brain. There's a lot of thoughts going on that are under the layers, under your subconscious, and being aware of it is going to allow yourself to start to redirect your thoughts. And your thoughts are what's going to serve you in being in more alignment with that vision. So that is like literally the most powerful thing you could do for yourself. And it's the most important first step that we talk about in this Abundance Queen Life program. And I will continue to bring it up because the minute you start a conversation around money, it's really uncomfortable and people kind of start to squirm. And to be honest, I like the squirminess because I know I'm getting to the roots of something the minute you start to get uncomfortable. And this is where really my expertise lies. So the moment we can really start to dig deeper, creating more and more and more awareness, that's where we get to the juicy stuff. That's where my expertise lies in creating this safe space, a place of non-judgment to come here and kind of spill all of those guts out and allow us to dig through it and keep what is serving you, get rid of what isn't serving you, and replace it with something that's going to improve your ability to think about wealth, to build wealth, and then to take action, an inspired way of action later on down the road. So, wherever you might be having resistance to this conversation, have grace with yourself, be aware of it, start to notice it in your own conversations that you're having on a regular basis. Start to notice it when you're sitting in bed thinking about money. What is actually happening in that conversation in your head? Where is there self-doubt coming up, the trust issues coming up, the lack of self-love, and noting that self-love is truly your ability to be in discipline with yourself. That is where we're going to go with this. So asking yourself, what could I actually create if I allowed myself a bigger dream to build wealth? Allowing myself to play in this possibility of building a wealthy lifestyle. What does that look like? How does that get to be sustainable over time? And how do I get to feel over time how that looks in terms of playing a bigger game, right? So there's some feeling elements. There is some I would say journal elements of like actually physically writing down the thoughts and then playing it out in terms of your actual actions. So we're gonna dive into more of that throughout this program, but I think if we can start to begin to create that awareness, embody it from encompassing all areas of your life, know that like I will start with the money piece that's uncomfortable, but how do we actually translate it to multiple areas of your life is also a really interesting way to tackle it because it can apply to your health and wellness. Like that is how I constantly translate a lot of these topics. I will literally be reading a diet book or health nutrition article or whatever, and it translates into money easily and effortlessly all the time. So it's really interesting how when we just allow ourselves to see how a lot of these topics apply to multiple areas and apply the same philosophies, the same frameworks to other areas of our life, how much more congruent everything actually really is. So start to notice, start to realize that it's okay to need help with this conversation. I'm the one who's had thousands of them, not you, so that's okay. And know that I'm really here for that accountability and making progress. I'm here for your exact path to help you know where to go next and to really guide you on that path and that journey, whatever that looks like for you and what you want to create with it. So accountability is, call me the queen of accountability because I love it. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Send me any questions that you have, and I hope you spend just some time with yourself and continue to grow this awareness process in your own thought process. Take care. Talk to you soon.